Okay, so we went back and forth as to what I was going to talk about, and to kind of get myself out of this weird mood that I've been in, there's just new developments with CJ and I, and there almost always is, and it just is what it is, I guess. So I'm trying to get myself out of that. I'm also inches closer to something that I've been waiting for 6.5 years, basically, and I'm so ready for it. So to kind of keep my mind off of all of this and try to keep the stories light and the energy light, we are going to talk about my night in Stab Crab. And Stab Crab is obviously not the name of the city, but that's what we're going to call it. And so my night in Stab Crab started, ironically, actually, the night before I got to Stab Crab. I was getting ready to leave home after seeing family for Thanksgiving. And, you know, I was talking to a guy that lived relatively close to Stab Crab, but not in Stab Crab, but it was like close enough that he passed through there a lot. And so he was like, hey, you know, I know that you're going to be heading through this direction. How about we meet up here in Stab Crab? I just love that word so much. So it's hilarious to me. But anyway, so we decided to meet up there, and it took a little bit of convincing because, you know, we were kind of chatting on and off, and we had he had mentioned how, you know, he wanted to, you know, see more pictures of me, but I was like, no, I don't know, I'm kind of lazy. And he asked to see my tattoos, and I was like, no, I'm lazy. They're literally all over my body, but I'm like, no, I'm lazy to show literally any of them. But I mean, he was a trooper, he stuck with it, and so I was intrigued, because I am a piece of crap when it comes to trying to date somebody. Or just even talk to them or see them. I like the thrill of the chase, so I made him work for it a little bit. Well, he suggests that maybe we intersect in this city while I'm on my way back, because it's not too far from where I live, and it's not too far from where he lives, and it's, you know, kind of close to this place that he works, so he can get a free discount. Whatever.
The stabby crabby.
The stabby crabbies. The steamed crab, if you will. So we met up there, and at first when I got out of my car, at the time I drove a little tiny smart car, a little 2-door, smart 4.2. It took me 3+ years to realize that that's what those words said. We're not going to talk about that, because I'm smart, I promise you. And so I got out of my little tiny smart car that I had driven all the way from where I was at to Present City. Say it with me, Stab Crab. So I get there, and he greets me at my door, and we kind of chat a little bit, and he's like, how was your drive? How was everything? We're still standing outside my car. And I was like, it's good, even though I was in this little tiny thing. And he was kind of admiring it, and he grabbed my hand and kissed me on the hand, and I was like, oh, okay.
Dashing.
That's nice. I like that. So then we go inside. We go to this like bar and grill that's attached to a hotel. I'm no dummy. So we go there and we have a drink, and we start talking and flirting a little bit. He's starting to get a little bit closer to me, and he starts touching me. We kind of exchange a couple like laughs, a couple, you know, looks, a couple things, and then, you know, I think I got another drink, he finished his drink, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go get us a hotel room. So of course, naturally, that's where things are going. So we grab our drinks, and we head over to our hotel room, and of course, we get to doing everything that we could, and that was a lot of fun. And he was a good guy, you know, that night was good, and And so, he had to go do something back in his hometown, and so he had to leave. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. We spent a few hours together, so it wasn't too big of a deal. It was nice, and it was nice to touch base with him. He's a decent-looking guy, nice guy, fun to be around. It was good. It was all good. So then once he leaves, I was like, I'm having a good time. I'm still on vacation. This was like few weeks into my, I think it ended up being like 2-month vacation, 2.5 months, where I was just not doing anything, which was really nice. And I decided to get myself some drinks. So, I'm chatting with the bartender a little bit. There's a couple of guys sitting over here. One of the guys, like a big burly dude, super attractive, sitting down chatting with me and the bartender. And there's this other guy hanging out there. I think he works on the oil fields or whatever.
What time of night is this?
It's like probably 8-ish.
Oh,
maybe.
so early.
Yeah, it's pretty early. It's like 8:30-ish, maybe 7:30, somewhere in there. And then, we'll call him, I don't know, we'll call him C. How about that? So C leaves, and that was like 7. I go back to the bar where S is at, the bartender, and then these 2 other guys over on the other side. And he ends up, we all chat it and, talk about porn and things like that naturally, because it got on the conversation of OnlyFans. Well, I have OnlyFans, and, I've done a lot of sex work and making porn and things like that. And so they were asking questions, and I, of course, had the answers. Well, the night progresses, and we all close out our tab, and the guy that I'm less attracted to ended up getting my Snapchat. So I was like, yeah, cool, that's good, no problem. But the guy I was attracted to didn't. I was like, darn it. But I ended up talking to the dude I wasn't nearly as attracted to, and got the number of the bartender, because the bartender was talking to me, having fun, whatever. So he gave me his number too. I ended up walking back to my hotel room with the other 2 guys, and we dropped off hot guy first, and then my room was next, and then he went back over to his room, the guy that got my Snapchat. Well, him and I were chatting. I was a few drinks in, very much drunk.
What time is it now?
It's past closing time, so it's probably like 11:30. Something like that. And he ends up messaging me on Snapchat a few times, like, oh, I'm lonely in the hotel room, blah, blah, blah. What? And asked if I was. I was like, oh, I don't know. And then next thing you know, I hear a knock on my door, and I am not clothed. But I answered it anyways because I knew who it was. Let him in. We ended up doing our thing too, spinning those wheels. And
touching those bases.
Of course. And right now, I had finished with C, and I had, gone back to I had gone back to my room and took a shower, and then I went back to the bartender, or like to the bar to hang out with the bartender and them. So then when he came to my room after we did that, took a shower, fell asleep. And then I woke up at some point, like 3 o'clock maybe, somewhere in there. And I had gotten a text from the bartender because him and I were texting a little bit. And, he said he was still up. That's fine. I asked on myself. He said he was still up. I was like, cool. That's all good. He's like, do you want to come over? I was like, of course I do. What kind of question is that? So I come over to his place, and we're sitting around, we're smoking a little bit, and he's like, well, I should probably tell you why I'm still awake. And I was like, okay. And he says, well, I've been doing coke. I was like, okay. And I've done coke before, so it wasn't like I was like, oh my god. But so he's like, do you want to do some? I was, of course I do. Like, what kind of question is that? I'm always down to do cocaine. So let's do it. And we ended up doing it, and then we actually did it. So ended up getting with the bartender as well. because why not? And then once we were all done and kind of cleaned up and everything, we were sitting on his couch and smoked a little bit, and then he fell asleep and he had a couple of lines of Coke left. So of course, being the nice house guest, I happily took those and beelined it out of there once, he was passed out enough, and I took off. And of course it was like, snowy, cold outside. I was still in my little tiny car, so he was down this little like hill, and so to get out I literally had to reverse drive this way to flip it and get enough momentum to get myself up the hill to get over and back home, and start going back home, because home was like probably, I think it's about, wouldn't you say it's about 6 hours from Stab Crab from here?
I think so.
Something like that. It's like 5 to 6 hours. And so I was, in for a long haul, didn't have any blunts on me, so I had to quickly just roll some while I'm fucking high as shit on Coke, and drove my happy ass home. And that caused an argument with somebody I was close with at one point. But I still have no regrets about it, and it was a lot of fun. And yes, the argument of that person that got upset about it was, you could have been unsafe, you could have been harmed. You're right, I could have, but I also made it. And it's a pretty good story to tell. So, I managed to meet one person online and then bang 2 people that I met in person. So, that's pretty interesting, and life seems to be that way kind of around these here parts, so it's not really a surprise, and more to come, because there are way more stories like that where I run into people that I would like to get with and eventually do. So thanks for watching. From me and my babies, like and subscribe, make sure to share, comment, and follow. Somebody knocked one off.